Wherever you're at, I want to bless you by saying that God makes a way in your life and is always working, even if it's behind the scenes and we may not see it. In Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all of your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." And then later in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14, Jesus says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." So what's the path that Proverbs talks about? What's the gate and the road that Jesus talks about in Matthew? That's the way that God makes in your life. And Jesus makes it clear that wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction. And a lot of people tend to find that route. But small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. And that's the path that we want to be on. That's the way that God makes in your life. The challenging thing is, though, is that we don't often know the plan that God has for us. We don't often know the way that he's making for us, but we have to trust that God knows. We have to trust that God knows what's best for us. There are times that he's so gracious as to reveal the plan he has, but there's sometimes he doesn't. I think back to the Israelites as they're about to go into exile into Babylon. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." We can often find comfort in this verse that if we don't know our plans, we look here and we say, God knows what's best for us. God knows the plans that he has. And it's a great verse to find comfort in. But in context, like I said, the Israelites are about to go into exile, and God's revealing through Jeremiah the prophet that God knows the plans that he has for the Israelites. God knows that even though he's about to send them into exile, he's going to bring them back into the land that he promised them, a land that's flowing with milk and honey, a land that's better than any land that they've ever been in before. And God knows those plans that he has for them. So just like God knows the plans that he has for the Israelites, God knows the plan that he has for you. Even if it may seem like at the time that God's working behind the scenes, God makes a way for you in your own life. And also in the book of Isaiah, it's revealed through Isaiah the prophet that God's going to bring about a root from the family line of David, from the tribe of Judah, to come into the world as the Savior. And then we can look ahead to the fulfillment of that prophecy in the New Testament, where Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one comes to the Father except through him. So not only does God make a way in our own lives, but God sent us a way with a capital W to be a Savior in our lives. God sent Jesus to be the way to the Father for us. The hard thing, though, is that believing that God makes a way requires trust and faith from us. And that's tough sometimes. Proverbs 3 said to trust in the Lord with all of our hearts. And that's hard sometimes, especially when it doesn't look like that God's doing anything. It takes faith, and that's hard. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see." It's hard to step out in faith. It's hard to follow God where he's leading us, especially if we don't know where he's leading us at the time. But if we think about when we're walking on a path, it's hard to follow that path if we have our eyes closed and if there's no light to light the path. But we have to open our eyes to see where God's leading us. Not only did God send Jesus to be the way, the truth, and the life, God also sent Jesus to be the light of the world. So by following Jesus, he is our light as we're walking on that path. So because of Jesus, we can walk on the path, we can walk in the way that God is leading us. We can have faith, and faith is confidence in what we do not see. So wherever you're at today, walk in confidence knowing that God has sent Jesus to be your light. God has sent Jesus to be your way, your truth, and your life, that you can follow Jesus and be confident and have faith in the way that God is leading you. Be blessed today.